are going to look at the book of Ecclesiastes. And today we are going to start with it. It's one of my favorite books in the Old Testament. And it deals with the practical things in life. It's not always that when we come together, we just know what God wants us to do with regards to our worship and how the church should be organized. God also wants us to have the knowledge of how this world is. God doesn't want us to be naive as to the things that are running on in this earth. So, what Ecclesiastes talks about is a study about what this world entails. So, we are very fortunate as Christians to get this book because someone who have walked through life, gain all wealth, all material possessions, and we will read one of the passages that he said, there is nothing that his heart sought that he wouldn't give to what he really wants. And he summarized whatever that is on earth for us to appreciate the things that are controlling this world. And as a Christian, you must master these things because it's not only about knowing that the Lord has a church and this is the kind of doctrines that you also need to know the things that work in this world. So when your mind will be successful, you can be a Christian and still be what? Be unsuccessful, or you can deteriorate in life. It's a deal and the book is going to help us. So all what we are going to learn, the theme of the book is God alone holds the key to life's meaning. And I said, if you are in the world, you will never understand the real meaning of life. Okay, so the word Ecclesiastes, in the Hebrew word, it is called kohela. Kohela simply means someone who is a speaker or someone who is preaching a kind of doctrine. So in chapter 1 verse 1, he addressed himself as a teacher, okay, as a teacher or a speaker. And there is no we don't have a lot of eternal evidences to prove the writer of the book. Notwithstanding, the writer identified himself to be king of Israel, specifically Jerusalem. It means the person was part of the southern kingdom when they settled in Canaan. So all the eternal evidences prove that it is King Solomon who is the son of David. He also identified himself as the son of David. So beyond all reasonable doubts, we could see that the writer or the author of the book is Solomon. It was written around 935 BC before Christ. And it was written during the time that Solomon was a king, okay, in the southern kingdom of Israel. So it really tells us that he is truly the author of the book. And the theme of the book, like I already said, the meaning of life. And the meaning of life is just to fear God. Okay? So, when we talk about the wisdom literatures in the Bible, you can't talk about wisdom literature and not talk about the book of Ecclesiastes. So we have 3 books that the Old Testament called the wisdom books or the wisdom literature. And it is Proverbs, Job, and Ecclesiastes. So Ecclesiastes is described as one of the wisdom books or the wisdom literatures. And even atheists believe that it is the single piece of the greatest writing ever. When it comes to the book of Ecclesiastes alone, they believe the message that the writer speaks about. Okay, so Ecclesiastes tells us our pursuit of money, wealth, and fame, even with good intentions, this becomes useless because we have not established a relationship with God. Luxuries may be enjoyable in this life, but they have no value hereafter. The awards and kafo nyina mu ne say ababa aye bri ko school ye bri na de pese that ye hoto ye ana obi abeso bebre ye pese ye sika ye hoto ye inya awodin the person to be the KARIKARI. But if you pursue all these things and you leave God beside, the writer is saying that it becomes just grasping of the wind. Okay, it is meaningless and so because the things that you are grasping here on earth, it has no impact in afterlife. Okay, so Solomon sums up all the saying that having a true relationship with God means you are able to manage the life that you are living under the sun. So the key word that we can find in this book is vanity. It appears for about 38 times in the book. Vanity. It means it is worthless. And it is a message that the writer is telling us in our pursuit to understand life. There are things that become what? Vanity. So Ecclesiastes, we don't really have the recipient of this book, but personally I believe it is for the young ones, because it will not be of good use. It is a book that I think is for young ones, for them to know how life is. As they start life, they will know that they need to really remember their creator in their youth. So in Ecclesiastes 12 verse 1, we'll be reading it chapter by chapter, but we saw that he said, remember your creator in the days of your youth, before the difficult days come. So the book is not of good use for the elderly or the older generation. No, it is for we the younger ones, so that we will factor God in whatever that we are doing. There are a lot of applications in this book. It tells us where we need to channel our time, our money, our strength, so that God will vindicate us for all the things that we've served him with. So we need to memorize some of the passages so that it will help us recall what God wants us to do. And there are basic facts or truth in the book that you can never deny. It says that if you are rich, you are poor, you are handsome, you are ugly, all of us will one day will die. And life is what? Is really short. But then life without God becomes vanity. So we need to understand our reason or our purpose here in life, so that we will be successful. And it summarizes all by the conclusion that we need to fear God and obey his commandments, because that is the duty of man. Because God is going to bring everything that we've done on the day of judgment. So we are going to start with chapter 1. So let's all take our books, our Bible, and let's start reading. Because most of you don't bring Bibles because you'll be projecting it. At least if we have any challenge or there's a lights out, it means there is no Bible for you. So we should try as much as possible to bring hard copy Bibles. Today we need to cover about 4 chapters. We have 3 weeks and we have 12 chapters to cover. So each of our meeting day, at least we need to look at 4 chapters, and then we will end the book. So because I want to speed up a bit, I'll read. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. So the writer is describing himself that he is a preacher, okay, or he's a teacher, and he's the son of David, and he ruled in Jerusalem, and that was the capital of the southern kingdom, Judah. And like I said, there are a lot of internal evidences to prove that it is Solomon who was the writer of this book. Verse 2, vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What does a man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The verse 3, the verse 4, no. You need to witness for you supersede you. They prove say, as I say we end say, na. Nipa bebree abetina we ase so wuko. Tinya ho pon sa as we no be do be tin keke. And they use this passage to prove. But you see, anytime the Bible uses forever, it does not mean till eternity. Okay, when God made a covenant with the Levites, because of time, we will not delve into. I just want to summarize the answers that you can give to people who believe that the world will not be destroyed. The key word there that they use is that this earth will remain forever. But I'm saying that the word forever does not always mean till eternity. Forever simply means a period of time. So when God was making a covenant with the Levites, he said it will be an everlasting covenant that he's making with them. There are a lot of laws that God gave to the Israelites that he said it will be an everlasting, or those covenants will be forever. But you will say, why? But why is it that the Bible used forever? Forever. It simply means a period of time. It does not mean that that law or that covenant will still continue. When Jonah was in the belly of the fish, in Jonah 2, Jonah prayed and he said, I was in the belly of the fish forever. Does that mean that Jonah never came out of the fish? No, he came out. So let's say someone is getting married. Yeman will be ewa ukrunere. Yes, or moon swear good, and I said, our no moon cantam. So either so I'll be can answer the case of the H. So say there, meadow affable, I will love you forever. Now let's bring this scenario. Fanny said, I will for no worry, you know. Baku and about Coco for. Has that person broken the law? Because Omumienu swear say, Omedo more forever. Babaku and the Otias and Aqua for. As I'm not can say, I will love you forever. What breaking our law now, that's all breaking. Omreki, because that period no more worry anymore, and I'll say Obedono forever. It won't worry the ultimate law as also worry for. So the key word forever does not always mean eternity or something that will never come to an end. That is not the meaning. It's in the wilderness for issues are passage now. Pointer Solomon and I write and they discuss and they say, and Neoma air basa. That is the focus. Okay, let's continue from verse 5. The sun rises and the sun goes down, and hastening to the place where it rises. Or say, you don't want to say, I'm a person no reapy. I say, longer days, shorter nights. And the book 6 grounds are book 6. And just a time, a riano, and also a cotono, a check a crack. Ha. And I did so change them. I was about 5 no real what's. Ha. So it is telling you that what Solomon is saying is very true. That the sun will rises and it goes down and it will still come back to where it rises. Say science actually say we are the pray for east on. Say east will see. Means right. Now I bet that west and so now science for you discover. Sorry, not Solomon. I can. You heard the bill say and from also quite verse 6. The wind goes down to the south and runs around to the north. The wind whirls about continually and comes again on its circuit. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. To the place from which the river comes, there they return again. It was saying, and the book is also inspired. It's not kind of a factor. Watch I say we are the same baby. Now my ass out of baby. And watch I say from say oh baby I on the circuit and a blue it turns around to the north. A blue asie na a crossroad. Na Saba, Tiframa, Solomon says, Anna, etie. All the rivers run into the sea. Say, influence will be recopiled put him. Like Ponya mother. Isn't also wonderful? Verse 8. All things are full of labor. Man cannot express it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. That which has been is what will be. That which is done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. It is Solomon say. Said the before for anyone now boy. Sani Omana na regulating we assess the before for be mother. Okay, it will be a Juma near to our car. Sa Arabia or share your friend. Most of us are kind not before I offer. That is the reality in life. That is the reality in life. It was said the eye is not satisfied with seeing, and the ears is also not satisfied with hearing. There be a wee pass of was there be a name that no. Say there be a depending that an alcacher now, the person will not be satisfied. We want to always hear new things, and that is what Solomon is telling us. Verse 10. Is there anything of which may be said, see, this is new? It has already been in ancient times before us. There is no remembrance of former things, nor will be there any remembrance of things that are to come by those who will come after. Or see before we be anyone about it's really a mother. Bibisa cars are here, Samra Nakanya Mine. We had the horses, we were riding the chariots. Nay or more only two kind. And inside can be our horsepower. Sadia Poncosi to Americano. Sana Cano. Say they say to American, you get Ponco speed sooner than the car. So the anyway in you I am ada. You need to make us a light. Light now. Then it is not in this form. It be who are. So one mostly of action films now who create baby. No more they be I no normal soldier also. They are all a style or they are all forms of light. So the anyway, yes say where they are friend are barriers. No. Abakra it is just being modified. Okay. Verse 12. I, the preacher, have been king over Israel in Jerusalem, and I apply my heart to seek and search out by wisdom all that is done under heaven. It's an unhappy business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. I have seen everything that is done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and striving after wind. What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be counted. It is Solomon say, and I said, they are not so in Jerusalem. I say, I feel there, or the Ashana Kumo so who, but I ain't here. Yango a boy, a pass as so. He wants to seek the meaning of life. And I'll say, as a woman said, Yango Pama, you do, once or Yanapa, Sunday, never neighbor the BD. Or no, only rest to the human oil Sunday to Sunday. It could be night, no, could be day, but when I tell you the near call, that is life. So Solomon is saying, and you know as if there is a load. I say, I will say, Nipa to I yet be you must say, and that is what Solomon said. He studied life on earth and he could see that all is vanity. We are just striving after wind. I said, I did be on agree so Sabit Maka, but I didn't know any good like a mirage. So, who to kind of say, we are that one, so I bet you say, so that now. The more I call him, not turn it and then so calling. That is how Solomon said he saw life. And I say, Adebia, area say, I say, Enkoye Maubino. We are the guy you can't, there are things that we can't control it. You can't control it. It will happen by us. Verse 16. And I said to myself, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were over Jerusalem before me, and my mind has great experience of wisdom and knowledge, and I applied my mind to know wisdom and to know the madness and folly. I perceive that this also is a striving after wind, for as much wisdom is much vexation, and he who increase knowledge increase in sorrow. So Solomon say, afraid of person or shall say it is Solomon a researcher here, and now or then the findings about to say the movie use go and research. Solomon are researching the we are seeing and or then the findings about, and I say no, they say. The more being named no, the more the more as we say. But I say the more open in no, the more kind of how about to be. So in chapter 1, Solomon addresses his quest to search the meaning of life. Solomon, I shall say, or person or to share. So he wants to start his quest. So in chapter 2. He is going to start where he thinks there will be real meaning of life. It was being said, Senipa no Monsapa and Obeti Ababo Yasi. To Solomon shall say, or no Monsa. After we said that people see a die baby and now Obeti Ababasi to shall say so we see that. So we are going to look at his pursuit of life. And you might feel this is to say, or person who investigates Sanyo Mini Nadini Munashim, and he said, Sanyo no energy and I said, success or the meaning of life is. The findings. Any baby. Okay, so in chapter 2, he's going to start his pursuit. So I don't know about so chapter 2, he started it. 2 verse 1. I thought in my heart, come now, I will test you with pleasure to find out what is good. But that also proved to be meaningless. Laughter, I said, is foolish. And what does pleasure accomplish? I tried cheering myself with wine and embraced fully my mind still guiding me with wisdom. Or says I did not, or do you know, Sabi, or the youngs out to woo. And yes, so no one's at once and cinnamon taint and Debbie, or the near the at home. The more person said, say, oh, no one's Sabibia, Enna, mouth abrabo yasi and I said, we are satisfied and I said, I tell you will be no drink be an answer condo say drink with only boom no but I want to be gone no one who said that things na no now we can say that is munya and that is what Solomon said he set his heart to do. It was not just or jineni or come be any jewo asrea but who say and no am say kwase asem and osande nani esi nsaso Solomon said no, he didn't say anything. Verse okay, the 3 has not yet ended. I wanted to see what was worthwhile for men to do under heaven during the days of their lives. Verse 4. I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself and planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made reservoirs to water groves of flourishing trees. I bought male and female slaves. I had other slaves who were born in my house. I also owned more herds and flock than any in Jerusalem before me. Solomon said, Afi, or shall say Sidan, or Jinani no son, Esre, and one fulfillment. So shall say, Afi, or Sidan. For the Sidan baby, and a dinosaur, and yet Dia as I say, Ketu you. So far, Lucia, or Muskapan. So toss us here. Sankas of Wenina, Aqua, toss of Wenina. So see the fee now, the Akan in a garden. It is an national city fee. To see what city fee be not via in the garden would yet in real be a warrior Sibia would be a so I come on. Would you be all? A good so a pen quabe bre or say would be an hour quite a chain before him. So Munya Juma will true him in Solomon's sister. He didn't see the meaning of life in that. Let's continue in verse 12. Sorry, I think it's verse 8 rather. I gathered me also silver and gold, and the peculiar treasure of kings and of the provinces. I got men singers and women singers, and delight of the sons of men as musical instruments, and that of all sorts. It is Solomon say, okay, or person enyum and go for beto enyum chire. So we are what is a memory on the new to pa no ba what to the south so omra no beto enyum enche no. Otie enyum bia sika bia wo yase bia dwuma bia e wo sa wo ye epesika no. Solomon say he gathered a lot of silver and gold and called all people who are very good musicians to come and sing to him. Yet still he did not find the meaning of life. Let's continue. Verse 9. So I became great and excelled more than all who were before me in Jerusalem. Not that he was boasting. A researcher, it was saying, Obinna Keseda, Jerusalem, chain on Unquan. Also, my wisdom remained with me. Whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I did not withhold my heart from any pleasure, for my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my reward from all my labor. Then I looked on all the works that my hands have done, and the labor in which I have toiled, and indeed all was vanity and grasping for the wind. There was no profit under the sun. It is Solomon say, sir, there be a pursuit of pleasure, there be a any will be a or also pay me. Or say whatever my eyes desire, I did not keep it from them. Because of his wealth and what he has built, the BN to me is in the point. He said, "Oh, Bugatti, yeah, oh, Uchi Bugatti, I'll bet my bottom." Scanny, the ultimate is Kentia. Solomon said, "Dear Benana, on all Paunia, Emma, baby, baby, but say, or hearing all was vanity and grasping for the wind." I just have a question from me. It's baby, Solomon ready, but all the standing, I said, Nana agenda or the Yanside at home. Verse 12. So I tend to consider wisdom and madness and folly. For what can the man do who comes after the king? Only what he has already done. Then I saw that wisdom excels fully, as light excels darkness. It is Solomon say, or share. No, or the pay answer any sabijimi or person who wants to see them. And I'll say Uwa, the already the Chibayo and no. Utin so being answer for an answer be Jimmy for. But I'll say, Yansa of us walk a cratchy Jimmy. Send me a high of us will take soon. Say, and Adiasa, no lights in here. Which means, yeah, I hate me and a projector, a light in Tina to me projector. Say project ani dum na bibia dum a de me gina ye bia hu fa so bi amaso o se sabi sa na jimi ono de wan to sabi o se sa na jimi tie it se sum but nyansa it se high. Then I saw that wisdom excels fully as light excels darkness. The wise man has his eyes in his head, but the fool walks in darkness. To see nyansa for na dwene anasa o sha de o na dwene also obi ade mu e koso won obi ade na ni hwe enfo obi oba obi betina se bi dwuna ade no se ade we dach emwa o se sa ni pa ni nyansa for because ono na ni no e hye na dwene nim. Okay. And yet I perceive that one fate comes to all them. Then I said to myself, what befalls the fool will befall me also. Why then have I been so very wise? And I said to myself, that is also vanity. Solomon say, after who said though nyansa of us kakra change ni no. And obusa say, they were Jimmy o de nyansa omu nyina be. Enti ni nyansa no. Though or the benya of us kakra wa asase wa change say obi a wa Jimmy de. Nanso nipa na wa Jimmy no wo a oni nyansa mu nyina mo be. So say ohun sa say nyansa mfa ade bia menu wo ni wo achi no obehun say ye nyina arepe. Okay, let's continue. I think it will be ending soon. So verse 16, for the wise like the fool will not be long remembered. The days have already come when both have been forgotten. So I hated life because the work that is done under the sun was grievous to me. All of it is meaningless and chasing after the wind. It is Solomon say, what will we nyansa who I am kai ubi. Actually, I 1 year anniversary. Bom be board kakraka nesi. And we janse ne 1 year de ben ni ayi bobo kakraka. After 2 years we be ante unkabi. So na unim nyansa una na we professor. Professor Tamils me yen kai nka bibia ana. But no unim bibia. It is Solomon say, say wa Jimmy o sabi unim nyansa. And on can say nyansa unim fast one change me okai. But I say baby o nyina be ko ni say obi abewu yen kai obi a say wona na unim nyansa wona na unim say bi wa Jimmy yen kai. Verse 18, thus I hated the fruit of my labor which I had labored under the sun, for I must leave it to a man who will come after me, and who knows whether he will be a wise man or a fool. Yet he will have control over all the fruit of my labor which I have labored by acting wisely under the sun. These two is vanity. Was say your baby na dey no so no oni say ono so be Jimmy for na so be nyansa for na dey na ya ne say bra wa be nyina ni sika na wa pe no onim de nipa na oba begi na chi no obeso sidi sa japade na de ode be onim. Let's continue. Therefore I completely despair of all of my labor which I have labored under the sun. When there is a man who has labored in wisdom, knowledge and skill, then he gives his legacy to one who has not labored with them. This too is vanity and great evil. For what does a man get in all his labor and in all his striving with which he labors under the sun? It was said, any other than nipa bre who be pa ahode o obu wa ni sika wetimi na ni sika ntu ntimi na ampa so sika for mu ntimi na because what is the kind of power you sorry just akon for ba here ni so na no the program to now dey na be fa odemo hwi ni ho enti wono oda no wada obeyi gs sa aso da ebibiri ba wo sika ni no ntimi na wanda kwa ona ni mu no be ja se me fo chi si no asa sorry ei ti me fo mu ma me na the etiano to Solomon say they were better pin na wo nyansa wo nim de wo sika wo bibia but den a obi na ba be di wade wo ye den wo ti mi fe japade ne nko obi ba beje nipa no e na wo kan se bi onim nyansa ana wajimi o se unhunu. Let's continue. Because all his days his task is painful and grievous, even at night his mind does not rest. Sikenina no kanu. Say anadukura wada. This too is vanity. There is nothing better for a man than to eat and drink and tell himself that his labor is good. Or say, or yeah, research in no. The only who say don't wow, bra we bring in say. Adibia o kondo so nya sika to be di. Mekai me we SS for. And na kochia de me first salary. And now nke 40 cedis. Na 400,000 as at then. It's kind of a summon of pounds. Oh, 40 cedi na ya that's how the baby data ba me na so ma me pa ti me dis kana me wuri am fa na na ska me fanya de so ma me nchele bi na me kwaje malt ba ko na me je milk na me hwegu na me nom yam say afi de ma me ba you see ene salary ni etu ya me ma nwene malt ene milk mo bi na be dwene bi foforo enti so no mo say ono de dio o ka che ne say ena am say ejapade no fa bi nko ne e tele bi atwa wonum kakra tetele bi a wo de kwaji kebab ni bi okay wo de mo ka de o beka bi a ye service ga be to ma kukuro wo yi 100 cedis wo kwaji kebab wa je 5 wo de wo no bi da bibi kakra o say ono de wu ne say there is nothing before a man than to eat and drink and tell himself his labor is good. This is also I've seen that it is the hand from God. Or say, when you be no, Yankopon na adom when you be do wa. If I tell story we. Yes akwa bi. No ye djuma washing be. Na sikani bi be wo ne car. De bia sikani mo ba no wo ne car mana. Da ko na sikani ni birthday. Ti okọ washing be akwa na no say wo ye good guy and na birthday nti. Me di wo be pie. Dem ko restaurant na me aduane bi afa bi am njema. E na otena ne kan no ko. No say aduane be na obi. Eja yen ni awa restaurant. Me nu aduane bi wo ko awunim. Je okeka aduane na wo ni nyina omo de abe no. You know odi sikani ni de o say musamo be nsuo. E na oji so ni sinem no. O say na me na bi say o be je aduane bi o say he. Unim de. Ye doctor hwe me aduane bi timi fruit nko na midi. Ene vegetables. Toast ne carrot ne cabbage ne twitwa no medi no ada o say me na why o so say ene scan de obenya want me. You see, so Solomon is saying that this is also a sin that is from the hand of God. So now we wa kwenye na scan kra utimi dibia de nyame ase because obenya scan no utimi ni. For who can eat and who can have enjoyment without him? For to a person who is good in his sight, he has given wisdom and knowledge. Let's continue. Enjoy while to the sinner he has given the task of gathering and collecting so that he may give it to the one who is good in God's sight. This too is vanity and striving after way. We may move it up. Now, what say? Wa, where the boyini out the obusu compile scano or better quenbia wuna usikano. Wa penny papa man akudi ninche. May move it up. Minimobia. This wa ma version. The man no kwa ni and the mabibri na ne baba akubi ti man ni tu kwan and na ne baba akubi e ko kan ho but na ne very good dey you tunu papa for say sika na on dey hwe man ni on reason bi papa na ntie enti papa na adwuma bi na o ye adwuma bi wa buchi ho e na ode ne ba no eye 2 years away no ode sa ne ba no ye good no eye ne sasesa enti bia na yare bi bo papa no na wuye sika no be di e ba no very good no ene o de aye god ne sika papa ni sika no de ye se bi mansem ne ni o ma e wonfa sika e be di ne ba ne nsem no ne o de aye pa ho enfaso a abama nipa bebiri no mi ami hu na e won asema Yankopon na Solomon so ka e no krepa se bi obi agimi na wo sika bebiri Yankopon ka kwan bia ma ne sika no sorry e be di obi a oye nyansafo and that is what Solomon said that the task of gathering and collecting so that he may give it to one who is good in God's sight. Ti Yankopon na dey so no be oye papa no wa ye papa ni ni sika no o say no obepe kwan bia ma sika pa na be di your otre no and just we papa kokunu na sika no Yankopon na no say e won nsem on na be dane ni o ma amana be di wo. Okay, these two is vanity and striving after way. So Solomon in his quest in pursuit of pleasure or you be any one so why say any baby any jay na say one press kakaka wadi no fa bitwa wonu. Okay, chapter 3. So Solomon in chapter 3 is telling us that everything has its own time. Or study remember when we are say bibia also one and he listed about 13 things that is found under the sun. Now, and also no, we nipa obefa mu bi because they also study here. Let's listen to them. So in verse 1 to verse 8, he listed all the things that was found under the sun. So that he said everything there is a season. There is time for every purpose under heaven, A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to what? Pluck what is planted. It means to sow. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to break down, a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to gain and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to seal. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. Okay, so Solomon did a study on earth and he realized that time is everything, because say the oceans are kind, to everything there is a season. She said, a season. To you can be chill our you say, man, you see that there's exorbitance in you, no my own energy or for count. But because say to no to me free, will be a chomo who I feel do on catch out. And I won't say need any okulu a chum. But Solomon was be anywhere a chum Emma doubt. It will say, oh, no, man, no man, your many, your many. Never only generate, let's say the any genicity. It's a man so much dance, pass, if you so look, but we don't know few. So look, who which she has a lot of few. Okay, it's the audience, oh, some men are near Jia, will be near Jechum. Okay, so Solomon is telling us that everything there is a seed. Let's move on. In no time, we'll get to chapter 4 and then if you have any question, then yeah. So, in verse 9, what gain has the worker from his store? I have seen the business that God has given to the children of men to be busy with. He has made everything beautiful in next time. Also, he has put eternity into man's heart. Only, and to be on Medana, especially the Tisi Ubiua, Sadano. Meda, na me guinness as it. Timis to send me to me, Namiwa, me Quafa. I said, no, it means God has placed eternity into our hearts, in our minds. I just said, your wife, Jenny said, T. Dachi, say ABC. It is God who has done that. Yet so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. I perceive that there is nothing better for them than to be joyful and to do good as long as they live. Sorry. Also, that everyone should eat and drink and take pleasure in all his toil. This is God's gift to man. Say the Solomon, repeat that they will say, now, actually, or the actually partner say, one, what he has a one. Now, unim say that she be ube. Now, obra wa brewas as he susika when you go. Oh, satisfy, unya satisfaction. Oh, Sadia na what chole awenyano. See, Solomon say, unya sa opportunity nebia. Actually, I go point ede actual. Verse 14. I know that whatever God does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be added to it and nothing can be taken from it. God does it that men should fear before him. That which has already been, and what is to be has already been. And God requires an account of what is past. And I saw something else under the sun. In the place of judgment, wickedness was there. In the place of justice, wickedness was there. I thought in my heart, God will bring to judgment both the righteous and the wicked. For there will be a time for every activity, a time for every day. It is Solomon say, "Ade bi Nyankopon ahihya to obi a epem ntimi mesesa no." Enti se Nyankopon amwanya obre so mfa so a, you need to be satisfied. Ana oka say, "Ohun ade bi so owi ase a efa atemu ho no. Yetimi tua ti na say sikafo omo ndi foda. O sika ne akọ quarter. Yes won kodem da. What bi da? Nti bi da. Da bi ehia fo na kodem. Eti Solomon say, "Ohun say adefo e pervert justice." Baby also say pepe on. Go say sikafo di sika we ma na adane no. And it's very true. Okay. Now say Yakopon e de sa na mani nyina e beba atemu. Let's continue. Verse 18. I said in my heart concerning the condition of the sons of men, God tests them that they may see that they themselves are like animals. For what happens to the sons of men also happens to animals. One thing befalls them all, as one dies, so dies the other. Surely they all have one breath. Man has no advantage over animals, for all is vanity. All to go to one place, all from the dust and all to return to the dust. In your awareness, also you see, and the omo cheche be a friend of annihilation. The inti omo nyini sabo nsem jam wo ne se omo gidi se nipa wu a you cease to exist. Uni wo bi. Ti say the abo wu awu. Oni akonta bia bu ne se anema ne da bi. Inti omo use passages where the support say nipa it is emoa. As a from the ten and you wu a yes akọ de name, and that is where that is jomo asama do omo fa na amara na ye de adaka na si na wa no omo gidi se ewi ase esi ana enkwa afterlife always by entisa. But Solomon point out all year free man say the internet more in I penny say ye na home ye nya home ni free more you and just said ye na more ye pe e wo Nyankopon adebo no ade bia no Nyankopon boy in the creation order or born it say ni suba na nse so enu ya kura wanye nsa abofo kura wanye nsa enipa nko a. So humans are different from all the creation of God. And you can say and one in the in one sense say na you, but one in the pie per se Nyankopon bo mo aso ni suba ne se so say omo so mo akonta bi wa okra bi ti omo a no nti ye ne emwa ye nyepe because enipa is different from emwa. Verse 21. Who knows whether the spirit of man goes up and the spirit of the beast goes down in the earth? So I saw there is nothing better than a man should rejoice in his work, for this is his lot. Who can bring him to see what will be after him? Or this nipa who obi any wa betimi de wa ba wachi se be asase so ye de wajapade ye utimi senko obi ewu akwa aba na obere de wajapade ye ka when the obi ade na ade was ade a wa amrezu nya ye no udi abi no fufufufu enka sumba nkofo be gigi wo esamafo no kenya asem ketua but utimi mba ubeja no okay ubeja na asase we so. Let's move on to chapter 4 and then we'll end. If you have any question, then you ask. So Solomon is still on his quest to find out what is under the sun. And it's a reality. See, I make us say Christ to Solomon okay. One fine ejuma, I hope our vampire there be 24/7. It will not work because a natural law we are here. And also be ejuma. Okay, so that you benefit from it. So again, I looked and considered all the oppression taking place under the sun. And I saw the tears of the oppressed. And they had no comforter. The power lay in the hands of the oppressor. And there was no comforter. Or say, was I will say, okay, will be answering to me to cheer more. So I admire the dead who are already dead above the living who are still alive. If you or else everyone say, I know more with your muscle, your Verse 3. But better than both is he who has not yet existed, who has not seen the evil that is done under the sun. No, say, now why you now crowd here? Would you now? Ubi also fire him kakran and uku. But so why now would you 3? Verse 4. I saw that all labor and success spring from a man's envy of his neighbor. This too is fatal and the pursuit of the wind. Or say, the MOBD ubi will be full. Verse 5. The fool folds his hands and consumes his own flesh. Better one handful with tranquility than 2 handfuls with toil and pursuit of the wind. Again, I saw the fertility under the sun. There is a man all alone, without even a son or a brother. And though he is no end to his labor, his eyes are still not content with his wealth. For whom do I toil and bereave my soul of enjoyment? This too is fertile and miserable tax. After all, by Kasafa companionship, say, in yes, you can go name Abamana Obon, say, uni Adam, uni Abema, uni Mammy, uni any relation, uni beings who are, or say, and also no, eh, to also uni Papabia, uni Babema, uni Babia, but baby also, or Prince of Pisca. And boy, tell me more. Sebi, our for be Omuniba, not the Biomania bread, a Pisca, and belongs in Escano, and they be a mad of Tingophobia and as a moving and can be alright. But also, Musadi and also, but who say, eh, yeah. So we will scapa, so Scano need your anybody. What's the way you know say, oh, man, anybody. Verse 10. Okay, now, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. You say, Uncle Nameya, so you mean, Eboa. And go for baby tell you so had the map awarefo. For if one falls, one companion can lift him up, but pity the one who falls without any helper. Or someone I'm using about the only thing to another sort of theater. Now, one wash over. Then once I do was not proper now. Okay. Verse 11. Again, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Abana, for them, our for say. Say, our for that password, or more by our machine. But I won't go on that. There be another to make room. Verse 12. And though one may be overpowered, two can resist. Moreover, a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Or say, some one hour could be a wedding boo. But the kwa definitely back chairman. Now, some 3 crowd here. Or say, a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. One will mostly comport any this but Uko Ecclesiates, Sabuchia, say what they that says this one. Hardly say Obebana that say that chia. No, just say be a point chibi na and Wabe can't you know. Your Chinese say ne firm and very strong. So if 2 people are forming ideas, it really stand on just one person. And okay, so say church, you know, the internet church and they say a lot of elders in the church land elder because nipa ba ko dwene say ne na de ne nya mu nyina mu dwene chi nyina enye but nipa me enum yensa toto adwene wo say da bi de fa say ya beboa. Always you could see that there is a lot of progress. Let's hurry up. Let's move on. NCHBC or 16 verses. Better a poor wise youth than an old and foolish king who will be admonished no more. It was say the abrantie a onim nyansa na wo fa so chen obi awanyi oyo hene was out in an utunifua enye. For he comes out of the prison to be king. Although he was born poor in his kingdom, I saw all the living who walk under the sun. They were with the second youth who stands in his place. There was no end of all the people over whom he was made king. Yet those who come afterwards will not rejoice in him. Surely this also is vanity and corruption of the wind. Inti hana oka nyansa said, enye obi a wanyini bebre na chese obi tima ya de bi enye me ba ha che me na manyini me na church na there bi. So be a young guy, not a very knowledgeable ade no yen ma. Hear me before in this part of our world, na na even say respect was so only penny when human. Na but no ba adwuma mu ache. That young guy be a boy very good. Yes we dey win ba ha che yen fama. Me ba ha che MBA no so enye hwe. They are very exuberant no youth. Ah we man dey all knowledge. Yen fama no onye. But in our part of this world, we say better say who day. Okay. So Solomon said this is also vanity. So we've ended the first 4 chapters. God willing, next week we'll continue from chapter 5 to chapter 8. Let's continue reading. Okay, and okay, Solomon is giving us all the secrets in this life. So we need to take advantage of them and also work at it. I'll end it here. If you have any question, contributions, they are welcome. Question. Okay, Solomon.
Okay. No classmate be on Jehovah Witness. Na dano. Na minimum koma ye disana so anybody ne bem. Ano kai we say aso wu ana me say wu a obodi na say aka so no ne me preso say na so ne ne dey. I'm say who be some as na my confused but I'm nim say omon cheche sa na tie. Nti ye me dem betwa asem no so kra everyone on WhatsApp wo ha no send the document we aba no send we aba na ade o send by e me you say wu no senka wu na wu ya de tanya kopon so ba obese nyane abra ye de ewu na me say busa na me has ma bitimi akwa me ka chen kakra
o say wu na ewu ade na yesu so boss abenyane it is saying all parliament the all party na say yesu wu a wu wo ba bi ko wonam na ewu a nti so say yesu ba o sabenyane ya na all party say wu a wu nko ba bi aba wo baby a
ni chirima wu like za and one no
aba sam no kan say o say yesu ba na ment ho na se dey ti a o kan dey support
the all party say you win you there's nothing after death. then I didn't know say you ba or say ba benyane.
The name of what is obesity to exist. Na yes ba was hard waba.
Okay, be a son or patch. But you see, passage of Musro, Lazarus Nisikeni, because a honor a chair life after death. There is no Bible passage. Ubi we are who you see who a J Lazarus Nisikeni. Unfortunately, what you almost say a parable. A people said they are not used to him. For all parables I used to my there is not one single parable or who be due. There be abeti and Ukrainian and a papa be nene sa omobiedi. But with this Luke 16 verse 19 of Lazarus, it is just a Lazarus no a dear now for your woman on the demand. A real life story. To see, if you can be tnasia, now share enter the cocoa. To me, can say a parable.
Okay.
And after 6 can you also a man in this one. No way in your deal or some. And also catch or Sabam say, oh my Lazarus and come back to her as I so the any property. It is a parable. For example, a parable. Uncle back to us as so. As I said, so. Even no more and then Lazarus and class so. It almost shows our passage, you know. Unya adagena no one after the other. Not on my lucky because the moment of a parable. Now they can one after the other. Those are the a reality. A idea see yes who can some nature and also yes in a car but in a parable. Ain't it this will be a home pen or correct. So sincerely no a chiano because of the any overcome be a won't be a channel on one yard. But sincerely for you or me sincere Miss Abba Musia to say. You said I didn't have many Usiana a change now over say yes you are because sincere because when you sincere you are there no air kind of crap but you still want to resist it. People are sincere. Ubi a 7-1 abuse why you got to say or dinner there now. Almost I never trousers because what kind of penalty also on you can't do anything. It don't worry yourself or tell you okay be asked. But you just present, make your defense. Okay? It's money who said Luke 16:19 Lazarus Nisikeni and we all store and your problem. I share the uwechi ewo. It's so as what here Jano, your mom pie man, every permanent coupon the man. Okay. Any other question? Okay. The question there. Okay. David.
Unfortunately, I didn't really follow from the beginning, but I got to a point that you made us understand that Nyankopon ashishe bibia mu ubia se de won anim no. So sometimes I say nyama bi tutun a we then begin to think say so did God also know that this accident will happen to me? Then why didn't he do something about it?
Sure. Okay. Yesuya di we ada very fit topic no. But you discussing bibi say evil pain and suffering. You say yesuya no say dey na dey bi dika e ko focus say Nyankopon nti unim say we beto me. Na nim say accident kai am ko free. Ibenya say ana no one moment see. Okay. There is some nature about God. So one thing I say obe kikas answer. Okay. Enti ye chair and new man not pain and suffering ever. And one thing you hear say how bit ma based on obi you can say adibi abibi and a principle now adibi abibi e won sunsun so it is say me to ball ebo na ya e beba me back e beba bo me but sa na Yakopon aye areas a principle adibi abibi a won aketua enti ade a wo ye no se unya ho feedback e be say Yakopon ade no wa ma ade na wo ye no unim say sa na bisi okay tie bia u cover speed utike no bi wo ne o say susuko speed na ko unim say bit menya accident ba wo ko enti ko si bia ka say Yakopon ade na wa ma accident this 2 obi ensunsanso ensu betimi obi ade bi wo betimi nyansanso also enti e man say obi ka say na say car na nyam na me twi driver na eco speed na Yakopon ade ma accident na ba. God is not a God of partiality. It's not a God that he shows no partiality in that car na ekonya accident no nyankopon ga say oh ba ku biti won Church of Christ ni it we dey mema accident no onya bi dabi on ka say me be stop car na ewe bobo no mema car na china because me baba ku tim no eti nipa na de na oye bia no wa wudi na chi no automatically e be nya nso ada na Yesu ka say se ni friend ni chi ni friend ni kwan ha omienu ada on ka say de odi ani mu beto amene there is a form of ade bia obi a wodi wani bia no only no run that course no okay so that thing is also there. Tell me yes actually about the natural laws nyankopon sete and then Solomon ka de ko no be ya ne bi wa ehuli asase obi na obetima sesa no say no my example back be say ewia ne pie na akoto enframa ebo free from na ekoso sa untimi enchenyi ni say me be stop enframa ana ene ewia na me ma nemba there are natural laws and nyankopon setting emotion ego bi nu ase wo de ade hye from ebe fifi ensu beto all these things are natural laws are working. It is our natural laws no so no the moment I bet temper natural law we benya effect it the laws of gravity oto ufiri soro ba asase ne betwon hange ho e betwon aba if you ga say nyankopon me ko gina great hall esoro pa no me ja me ho abesi fo me ye oba yi die mami me lande boko oba be lande ba na bu na obi natural yen temper you get the point it is all these things we want to see the laws of inertia and physics are many accidents were happening almost in Quran tell the internet Quran tell the science bit my explain okay because akrano ma me no accident now so the nsa a form of seat belt but all passenger na penny na ultimo almost seat belt no because of that collision speed na eba brake bar speed na do ba na na de beto ema e bi ultimate ma ko bi ma na ubewa go it all these things can be explained it's our natural laws no enka say obo mpa ye che nyakopon nti no sa natural law na be ye free ho ama de sa how na meto ba beto so if you are a Christian and you understand all these principles you blame nyakopon will be how because nyakopon na ahihya to ho say de na o ka na che say nya say wa sha to ba say wo ha wo be na we wanya sa na o ka but de say nyakopon ahihya nyoma bi a said your life that season na o che the time no e bi bedu a wo besu ebia o ma we ebe free and obi o hwe obi free araho okay enti bia na sa nipa na ma wani gina wo say time to what to laugh and a time to cry ebe be so asa nipa no be to wu an kase nyankopon na ade no wakum mame and wakum papa e da wo ma nipa so all these things when you understand them life will not be so bearable for you you understand things as they are and then you continue with your Christian life e de be see nyankopon ya do ma next Tuesday e beto aso nyankopon hwai na o ma yenti ase say ne da amen.
Hallelujah. Amen. We so that seem to appreciate. Shall we are standing us?